This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
Most Americans, well, they get a failing grade when it comes to retirement literacy. Here's some stats. According to the American College of Financial Services, 89% of female participants flunked a 38-question quiz, while 72% of men failed the quiz. Now, Scott, clear gap here in scores, but bottom line, most of us lacking in the area of financial literacy, especially in the area of retirement. So tell me, what topics do you find most people struggling with? Well, you're helping them with their plans.
You know, it is a shame those listening today, Alex, probably never took a course on money. When it comes to a course on money, I think about those listening today, your grandkids. That's right, your grandkids. Do they know what a penny is worth versus a nickel? Do they know what a nickel is? How much can it buy? So it's like a piece of bubble gum when we were all younger. And now it's a nickel. Now it's 25 cents for one stick of gum. And, of course, double bubble gum. If you guys remember double bubble gum or the baseball cards, you know, used to get 25 cents. It used to be, I think it was 10 cents. You get a whole pack of baseball cards. I had slews of them. We moved from New York to Florida. I had boxes of baseball cards. And here it is, 40 years later, 50 years later, 60 years later. I'm 60 now, 64, 60, almost 65. I'm thinking the damn baseball cards were worth more than a nickel back then. But, of course, what's the value of a nickel a dime? And I have a class that we put kids through from high school, from kindergarten to high school. Alex, I want to make that available for people once we get it set up for the website. I want people to be aware of that. So we'll make sure we bring that back. Okay, Alex, it's very important. How money works. A common sense financial guide. And in the literacy, there's no classes that teach it. None.
Well, and Scott, men, women, they might lie about how much they know when it comes to financial literacy, when it comes to planning for retirement. So how do you get these people aligned to have an understanding that, you know what, we might need some advice when it comes to planning for retirement? How do you deal with that?
That's humbling, giving people advice when they're my age. It's kind of humbling having to do that. It's almost like for those people in our area that go to Atlantic City, and here they are in Atlantic City, they're going there, and everybody talks about the winnings they won, but they tell you about the losings. Well, that comes to financial literacy. And step one is taking control of your money. Again, when it goes to retirement, when we meet with people before they retire, I love meeting people at least 6 months before they retire. Frankly, I'd love to meet with them a year before they retire and give them a game plan, a step-by-step game plan to prepare. And for those that are heading into retirement or nearing it the next 2 or 3 months, this is why people want to come in. What do I need to do? How do I plan for it? If that's you, and I'm speaking to you right now, I'm really concerned. Do you know what it takes when you pick that pension plan? As I met with a police officer today, that he picked an option. He bought life insurance. So in the event he died, his wife would get a death benefit. But he took the number one pension option, and he's going to get a check for $7,000 a month. He didn't want to take a cut in pay. Yet, did he know the rule of 72? Did he know about his debt situation? And did he know if his wife loses $7,000 in the event he dies, what $7,000 equates to? In other words, $84,000 a year. That number is valued, the intrinsic value, at a 4% rate of return. Is like you can have a bucket, and in that bucket, there's $2.1 million. But if he dies, it's gone. Imagine getting in a car accident, Alex, and he picked that option. So not understanding how that money works, whether you're picking your pension, your Social Security options, whether you should take joint whether you should wait when you pick a show. And then, of course, the debt. So the financial literacy, Alex, I think this is a very important for anybody. One person, maybe the spouse is financially literate, and the other one's not that too sharp on it, really doesn't care. Okay, what if that one that's really brilliant, what if that person dies, leaving the other one to the crows and the clowns when they go to the funeral? So this is really important, financial literacy.
It is really important. If you have questions, 609-488-4646. You can reach the studio, 609-488-4646. And you talked about being humble and the importance of that earlier. And something that people maybe overlook, they think that's not going to be them, long-term care. And the findings of this study we referenced earlier, only 12% of women feel highly knowledgeable about long-term care, and only 27% have a plan to fund it. This despite the sobering fact that 50% of women expect to require it. So I would say a little troubling, Scott, just the disconnect here. And it's just one of those things when it comes to being educated, comes to being prepared, you got to have a conversation about it.
Alex, that's a great question. And we got long-term care and the women, the stats. Frankly, the last stat I was looking at is 6 in 10 women believe good advice from financial professionals is very important. In other words, they want to seek advice, but they don't know where to go and get it. Most people just want to sell you a product, not educate you. When it comes to our sickness, us guys never think we're going to get sick. But what's the real intrinsic cost? What's the real bottom dollar when you go in a nursing facility and you find out it's not maybe 2,000 or 3,000. Here in New Jersey, it could be up to 8,000 to 10,000. If you're in lockdown and you're actually going out of your cuckoo, and you probably need to be locked down in certain facilities, which they have, that could be a lot more money. So I can tell you that women are living a lot longer than us men. I think that's the Adam and Eve complex, which it's why you guys live a little bit longer. I guess you guys gave us the apple, but you ate it first. Notwithstanding, I think what's important is understanding there are several products out there that can help, but not just to sell products. That's not what we do on this show, Alex, but to tell you guys out there, this is real. And there's several products versus when most people don't look for it because they think of one product out there and they pay it. And if they never use it, they throw it away. I know when my daddy, before he passed away, and we were really close and we always joked together in the car. And he said, son, if I ever have to go to a nursing home, why don't you do me a favor? I said, yeah. And I was driving that time. We were heading up North Jersey. And he said, I want you to do me a favor. How fast you going, son? I said, we're going about 70 miles an hour, Dad. All right. So here's what I want you to do. If I get long-term care, you put me in the car, go up the parkway, and shove me out the door. And I don't want to go to nursing home. Alex, this long-term care deal is really important, whether it's for the either spouse, partner, loved one. Because we don't know what happens, but it can be costly. And there's nothing worse than trying to buy the coverage after the accident, after the sickness. And that's when people think about it most. And so I warn people to be aware, be cognitive. I'm not saying go out and buy it, but you can shop it out because there's 4 different types of products. But when I was in the financial service industry in 1982 and 83, there was only maybe 1. That's all there was.
And if you have any questions, Scott can be reached at 609-488-4646. Something interesting is that women are serving as their household's chief financial officer, meaning that they do a lot of the managing of the checkbook, maybe buying the groceries, paying the bills. Doesn't necessarily mean, though, that they have an income plan for retirement. Scott, what's the difference between managing a monthly household budget and having an income strategy for retirement?
Well, obviously a budget is a cuss word to most people, especially when you're making fat money and then you go on retirement. Now you live on a fixed income. The difference of having a budget is it's a guideline. It's a good guideline. So if you go out and spend and buy the baby new toys, are you going to go to the thrift store? You're going to go to the secondhand store. You're going to go to Macy's and get the most expensive. So again, your budget. Right now, what I've noticed with our clients, thank goodness, they're not using their credit card. And if they do, they pay them off. But in this time of financial insanity, what's going on right now is people are spending more on their credit cards and they're spending up the wall. their kids. And the parents out there right now may be wanting to help their kids out because they know they're in trouble. But if you're on a fixed budget and you start burning down that cash to help your kids out, because obviously that's where your heart is, how could that affect your retirement? Alex, I'd like to go back real quick on the long-term care because I forgot to bring it up. On the long-term care segment, when we spoke about it, if you're a veteran during wartime era, I didn't say you had to be in war. You're right here in Lakehurst and you're serving in the service. Did you know that if your husband or wife was in the service during Vietnam era, maybe they were National Guard, maybe they were Korea like my mom, or maybe World War II, or now Afghanistan and all the stuff that's going on. Did you know that long-term, Alex, that there's a benefit to veterans and their spouses in New Jersey, not Florida? Listen to me. I have Florida property too, but for both of them, and they could go perhaps if they set their finances up correctly and they set their estate up correctly. Did you know they could probably get a nursing home for free? One of the nicest ones is Vineland, New Jersey. There's a couple others. Plus, if they want to stay at home, there could be a stipend up to $2,300 a month or more. So, but for your people that are trying to be on a budget, Alex, I think what's important, your budget can be blown if you start helping the kids out and you start spending money that you thought you had, because heck, $100,000 seems like a lot these days, right? But it can go very quick.
Scott, if people have questions, how could they get a hold of you?
Well, I'd like to give anybody, if they want to give us a call at our studios, no cost, no obligation. This is why we do the education workshop on WBNJ, because they allow us to share you information that you're probably not going to get anywhere. And frankly, you're not going to be sold any product. 609-488-4646. Making your money work for you. Again, it's 609-488-4646. McLean Advisory, making your money work for you. And we really want to make sure it's working to the best of its ability.
How many times have you heard this before? It's not what you make, it's what you keep that counts. More financial insanity with Scott McLean coming up.
Scott McLean at McLean Advisory Group often talks about the difference between retirement savings and retirement income. It isn't necessarily how much money you have saved that's most important. It's having a steady stream of income in retirement no matter how long you live. Scott has strategies that can help you create consistent monthly income for the rest of your life. He can help you make important decisions today so you can have the income you need in retirement. Having a big nest egg is great, but how will it provide you with the income you need for as long as you live? The number to get more information from Scott at McLean Advisory Group is 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. Turn your portfolio into a plan with help from Scott McLean. 609-488-4646. Investing involves risk. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services are offered through Bell Point Asset Management, LLC.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
It truly is not about how much you make. It's how much you can keep that really counts. It's less about the number of dollars you've saved, more about the strategies you use with those savings. Because really, Scott, as you know, money's got to be moving in the same direction for a singular purpose, your retirement. What are some things we can do to get our money moving in the right direction?
Take control of it. Number one, it would be taking control of your money. Where's it going? We talked about budget. We talked about how much you're going to live. For those people who are going into retirement, looking at your numbers. And then taking control of your money leads to another, being consistent. And of course, usually in every family, if you're still married or have a significant other, maybe a partner, who's watching the beans? Who's counting the beans? And are we really paying attention to the dollar? Now, this is basic to all y'all listening to this right now. Very basic. But the problem is it gets out of hand by really not paying attention. I'll never forget Dad and Mama. And of course, my dad did the bills and Mom was always yelling because they wanted to buy things. And Dad said, look, Joan, throws her the checkbook and said, here, Joan, you do it. You handle the checkbook. Boy, I know you guys out there are probably laughing like Alex is, but you know what? Time and consistency. If you've been doing it all the time and maybe your loved one out there is not doing it, they need to be involved because one of y'all just might pass away. And if you pass away now, they're actually threw the college manual into their hands and they aren't even in kindergarten. In other words, you passed the baton, but they're not ready to run. And I think this is a good time to have a discussion about it, especially for your kids. I think when I wrote a program with Citibank and wrote called a financial program, a literacy course, Alex, I'm not sure if I mentioned that to you, but in designing this program, it's how money works for kindergartens right up to high school. And of course, no one would take it. But again, time and consistency, taking control of your money, knowing what, and maybe adjusting your lifestyle. And that brings me to a funny thing. When we were speaking off the air a second ago, Alex, you mentioned what your clients are doing. We just had a couple of clients that have significant money in the bank and in their investments, and they've invested with us. And it's funny, they both came in at the same time today. One came in and the other client was leaving, and a good friend of ours. All my clients are great friends. And I said, y'all are two peas in a pod. And they looked at me like, what do you mean, Scott? I said, y'all are cheap. You're very cheap. And of course, my staff said, Scott, they're frugal. Yeah, just like me. They go to the thrift store. They buy secondhand stuff for the kids, secondhand books, secondhand toys, because they know they're going to I just laughed. I just was so amazed and enamored of these two ladies that were leaving and their husbands were with them and they're both cracking up. And are you frugal out there? In times like this, you're going to hear this. Mom, can I borrow some money? Dad, we're kind of a little behind. Can you help us out? When you get those calls, you really need to know your budget. You need to have control in your money, and you need to have enough nerve, or I say to some guys, testosterone shots or estrogen shots for you women to say the cuss word. And the famous cuss word my dad always said to me, not always, by the way, but I should say many times, no. He might not give me the answer why, but of course I would prod him because I wanted to know why. But most of the time he would go in depth. Let me tell you why, son. And in my book, I spoke about it in chapter 11. My first loan I got from my dad, Alex, I don't know if he told you this, but I bought a bicycle. And I knew my dad had money, and at least I thought he had a lot of money. And he said, I said, Dad, my friends have a Schwinn bicycle. Can I get a Schwinn bicycle? He looked at me and we were at dinner time. He said, sure, son. How much you got? Well, their dad's bought them. I said, well, son, you got a birthday coming up. Maybe I'll help you a little bit. And of course, my mom chimed in and says, no, you pay for it. Well, Dad, only have $50 and the bike I want's $110. Can I borrow it? Now, all I was thinking about is getting that bike, Alex, nothing else. You know what my dad did? Right there, he said, Joan, which is my mom, give me a piece of paper. Grabbed a piece of paper and he started writing on it. And he started writing on this piece of paper. And I looked at him, Dad, what are you doing? Don't worry about it, son. Son, what kind of bike do you want? I want a blue Flandria. You do? Okay. 10-speed? Yeah, Dad. All my friends have Schwinns and I can't afford it. All right, son. He then finished writing. He said, here, I'm going to loan you the money at 10% and you're going to pay me back $10 a week over the next 6 weeks. Oh, by the way, whatever the tax is, we'll add on to this. And then he said to me brilliantly, as he held the paper in the air and showed it to me as what the words were, very simple. And son, this is not, I don't trust you. This is an agreement between you and I, just in case I forget. He instilled to me at a very young age, if they're going to loan me money, I'm going to pay it back. And boy, did he hit home. By the way, if you're going to give your kids money, look at your budget. And I know that's really big right now. I've spoken to many families and some of you, it wouldn't even hurt you to give them tons of money. And thank God for you. You're blessed. But there's other people out there that are going to give your right arm and your left leg just to help your kids out. And then you're going to suffer in case maybe your loved one dies. You lose your Social Security, your husband's Social Security, your wife's Social Security. I should say your spouse's Social Security. You lose it, and now you lost that big nest egg, that big check. It's not coming in anymore. But then you loaned the money out, or you started giving it away freely because everything was fine. This is, again, A, not knowing your budget, B, not taking control, Alex. And I know that's a long-winded answer, but if you need help out there and you're about to retire, let me help you. Let me guide you. Let me show you the things I show our clients before they retire. So when they're in retirement and I know they're going to make a mistake, they know how to get back on track. We all make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with that. But we all have to learn the cuss word no. We also need to know our budget. And so I know this is basic for those of you listening out there. Oh, this is boring. Hey, this is real. This is real. Because what happens behind the scene is if dad didn't let me borrow money, I guarantee I'd have gone behind the scenes to mom and beg her. I'd have done something to get that bicycle.
That never happens. What are you talking about? That would never happen.
Oh,
609 488 4646. If you have questions, if you need help, guidance, and saying no every once in a while, number 609 488 4646.
Love to help you people out there. If you have questions or concerns, I can tell you off the air, I'll help you.
And Scott, rightfully so. It's all about saving money while we're working. But in retirement, it's really about creating that income that we no longer are getting from maybe that job. So how do we take those savings, turn them into income for retirement? It seems simple, but it's complex.
It's really not simple. It seems simple when you're young, because when you're young, you just put the money in the bank, and over time it grows, time and consistency, and by just plowing it away. And as compound interest works, heck, if you get a nice compound interest, $100 a month from age 0 to 45 years old, you got what, $175,000? A little bit of money, just a little bit of money, but it's time. Then this next thing is income. I'd like you to put your noodles on if you're listening right now. And I like to use a formula that's a very powerful formula that I think you might be able to gravitate to or use. It's TR equals I plus G. TR equals I plus G. And this is a mistake I find all the time. TR equals total return. What's the total return on your investments? And how total return comes in is I, the interest income or the dividend income, plus G, growth. Now, in this stock market that we're in right now, the market seems to be like a Singer sewing machine. Make a noise, a Singer sewing machine going zzz. Yeah, that's right, up and down. And when the market goes up and down, how can you make money? You see, when the market was screaming from the year 2001 to 2002, you could pull out money by way of growth, which means if you, let's say, had $100,000 in the bank, and here by the end of 2021, the 100,000 becomes 120,000, a 20% rate of return. And so you pull out the $10,000, or let's say 10%, piece of cake. But in an economy that is now waning and up and down, you need to focus on the I, not the G, so you can retire comfortably. Focus on the I, not the G, to retire comfortably. What's the I? Well, the I isn't growth stocks, it's income stocks. It's the steady income you're going to get from dividend or interest producing vehicles. For example, for those people that are out there at the banks right now, there are vehicles out there that right now have the ability to have some guaranteed fixed rate of return, much more than the 2%. That's what's going on right now here in the year 2022. Why? Because that's how they're designed. But the banks aren't paying anything, so you're not getting ahead. That would be why in earning money by way of interest. Imagine if you're getting 2% in the bank and you got $100,000, you're getting $2,000. But if you have $100,000 in other vehicles that are going to pay 4%, which they're out there today, well, that's a 100% increase. In other words, $4,000. Let me break it down even easier. If you had $4,000, you got $100,000, you're getting $4,000 a year of interest, not growth. That's an extra $300 a month to pay for that gas, because the gas in your car is costing you $300 a month. So investing for income. Other vehicles, Alex, out there are called investments that are paying dividends, such as short-term bonds. I'm not telling you to buy them, guys. Short-term bonds. Ladies, preferred stocks. And other vehicles like them that has a contract to pay a specific amount of interest, or they would call in this world the dividend. And some pay twice a year. Some of the vehicles pay 4 times a year, and some by contract could pay monthly. And by way of contract, that's how you could invest to get that nice dividend income. So you really need to pay attention to the I, not the G, in a market that's dropping. Alex, I don't know if you understand this, but, and I'm sure you do, because if you have a growth account that made 20%, when the market starts to drop, you could have what's it down now? Almost 22%. You lost all that gains. And just to break even, you've got to make a lot of money. Invest for the I, not for the G, if you need income. And buying those income tools is a specific game plan. It's a specific way to invest for the interest income or the dividend. It's not just throw darts like many advisors today are doing. It's really focused and really extreme focus on what tools can I get to pay. And as interest rates go up, the dividend stocks can be going down, but the yield could be going up. What a great time. So if you're looking for more income, 609-488-4646. Let me help you understand investing for income, because when you're pulling money out by way of growth on a monthly basis, you actually have to sell shares of stock, the S's. You have to sell shares of stock or
by the seashore.
It's right, at the seashore, yeah. You have to sell a lot more shares of stock if the market's going down, which could cannibalize your assets, and it could be like Casper the Friendly Ghost. Your money is gone away, and you didn't know where it went by pulling money by way of reverse dollar cost averaging.
I love it, Scott. And if people have questions, if they want to seek out some advice, you can reach Scott, 609-488-4646. Retirement is not a sprint. It is more like a marathon. How do you plan for something, though, when you can't even see the finish line? More financial insanity on the way.
Scott McLean at McLean Advisory Group often talks about the difference between retirement savings and retirement income. It isn't necessarily how much money you have saved that's most important. It's having a steady stream of income in retirement no matter how long you live. Scott has strategies that can help you create consistent monthly income for the rest of your life. He can help you make important decisions today so you can have the income you need in retirement. Having a big nest egg is great, but how will it provide you with the income you need for as long as you live? The number to get more information from Scott at McLean Advisory Group is 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. Turn your portfolio into a plan with help from Scott McLean. 609-488-4646. Investing involves risk. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services are offered through Bell Point Asset Management, LLC.
News, tips, and financial tricks, all right here.
It's the kind of dazzle we need around here.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group.
Retirement definitely is not a sprint. It's maybe more like a marathon, because you have to pace yourself so you don't wear yourself out before you get to the finish line. But the challenge with the marathon of retirement is we don't really know where the finish line is. We're living longer than any generation before us. There's no telling how long that we might live. Scott, are your clients concerned about running out of money before they run out of life? And how can you help ensure that their money continues to work for them through retirement?
How do you ensure them? Well, I don't know how to really ensure them. I call it more educate them, Alex, because in educating people that really don't know how money works that well, and I assume everybody coming in here doesn't know it. I didn't say they're dumb. I didn't say frankly, I've got doctors coming in here, engineers coming in here, and I want to break it down real simple. But if you want to ensure that you have got income for the rest of your life, there are tools out there that can really do a very, very good job. Frankly, in I think it was 2016 or 17, there was a vehicle out by a company called SBLI. Interest rates were very, very low, but they had a vehicle that paid a guaranteed 4%. Now, it wasn't heard of. This company's been around since like 1907. Very highly rated company, good company, insurance vehicle. And I don't like annuities that much. I frankly, there's 4 types out there. I totally really don't like 2 of them very rapidly, which I think people should run from. But this vehicle was called a fixed annuity and was fixed because they're fixed by 4%, like a CD. So imagine they put in $200,000 and they're going to get 4% or $8,000 a year. Now they could either leave that money in there or they could take out $667 a month for the period of time that vehicle was. It was a guaranteed fixed vehicle. Now, by the way, the vehicles are coming back now. Now, that is one way to, by way of contract, get it guaranteed from the insurance company who is the one guaranteeing it and backing it, not Scott McLean. But they're guaranteeing it based on the company they have and the rules. Now, the beauty is if they were to pass away, unlike other types of annuities, their family gets the principal if they're only pulling out the interest if they passed away. So that's one way, Alex, to have some kind of guarantees. If you invested by way of people are investing by way of bonds, and they were buying bonds because in the old days, that was the catch-all. I buy a bond, the bond pays a 5% dividend, and I know I'm getting 5% based on the company. Of course, I have to say this with my securities hat on, if the company doesn't go bankrupt. But bonds pay way of interest. They usually pay twice a year. But if the company goes bankrupt, like our company called General Motors, when that happened, of course, you didn't get that bond. For every $100, you got 18 cents or 22 cents. So, but that's a way to get money, but is it guaranteed? Well, hopefully the company will be around. So there are other vehicles out there that can give you a steady income. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I told you the story. There's a guy named George from Staten Island. Woo, did he have an accent? I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I've kind of got rid of my accent, and but he had a real strong accent. Came to one of our workshops as I was educating them. We spoke about one vehicle, and he came in from our workshop. He said, "Hey, kid," and he threw a piece of paper on my desk, actually a contract. I got this. My cousin sold to me. Yeah, what is it? I looked at it. He goes, looks at me. He sticks his chest out, and he's got this real boisterous attitude from from Staten Island, and I loved him to death, him and his wife, beautiful. And I said, George, this contract, he goes, yep, my cousin sold it to me. He would never hurt me. He would never take advantage of me. He sold it to me, and I'm getting a guaranteed 6% on that contract every year. Take a look, kid. I looked at the contract, and I noticed, I said, wow, George, would you mind if I did something? And he said, sure. What do you want to do? Let's call the company and ask them, frankly, what this means. Guys, I've been doing this thing now going over 41 years, but I didn't want to tell him what I read. I know how to read a contract pretty quickly. I've done pretty good in this field, but I didn't want him to think I was trying to sway him to work with me.
Sure.
So we called the insurance company, And this was 2009. And George bought this contract in 2006.
Oh.
So he's had the contract for 3 years. He sticks his chest out, says, ask any question you want. So I called him up and I asked several questions. Question number one, what's the current contract value at, and what's the highest value? It's $354,000 is the income benefit. The guy smiles. Certainly, and I asked the insurance lady on the phone from the company. Now, the reason, Alex, I didn't call his agent, I wanted to get it from the horse's mouth. I wanted to hear it directly from the company, not the agent, which I get a unskewed position. And I didn't want to insult anybody. That was not my demeanor. So I asked the question. So we have $354,000. If he had to pull money out, how much does his wife, if he were to take money out, or they needed money at their money in there? Well, the current cash value in that contract right now is $187,000. He had a fit. His face gets real red, and then he says some words, 4-letter words I don't say on the radio. He says, "What the are you talking about? You're full of." And so I said, "Whoa." I asked the representative for the company. They said, "What is that $187,000?" He said, "Sir, that's the cash value." Oh, so that's the cash value of the product? Yes. I said, "Well, I'm confused." Now, I knew it, but I wanted him to hear it from the company. Yep. I said, "Could you explain what the $354,000 benefit was?" And he's sitting there with a big smile. As the guy's looking on my shoulder, and the operator got on the phone. "Sir, that $354,000 is what's called income for life." So the income for life, can you explain how that works? And they said, yes. If he chose to take out 5% a year of the $354,000, how much would that be? And they said, well, $17,700. So he can pull out, frankly, $1,475 a month for his entire life. But the cash value is only 187? Yes. Oh, all right. He was confused. There's two big numbers there. One reason why people are confused about annuities is because they can be very hard to decipher, which is why when people give us a call or when they come in, they actually show them to me, because the IRS has what's called the 1035 rule that could really help them out. But I won't go there yet. So I then asked the woman, I said, well, let me ask you something. If he was pulling money out, what happens if he dies? What does his wife get? She would get the $187,000. He didn't have a death benefit on top of that, but he had $187,000 of cash value. And hopefully if that grows, it could be less. But whatever is coming out of that product, $1,475, that comes off of the $187,000. There was a silence. Wait a minute. Isn't there a death benefit? Yes, there's a death benefit, but if he's pulling money out and he used the annuitization and he's just simply pulling out the 5%, he could be getting, his spouse could be getting less money based on what option he chose in the contract. So I then said, well, let me ask you a question. Is there fees in this product? And there were. Alex, I don't know if anybody's out there that has a vehicle called a variable annuity. And by the way, I'm licensed. We can offer these products. I don't like them. I can service them. But at the fee, there was 5 individual fees. And it's not noted on most all of the variable annuity products. What he didn't know that he had was he was paying 4% in fees. Now, if you're doing the math, what's 4% of 300,000 out there? $12,000 in fees. Imagine paying $12,000 in fees for the past 3 years. $36,000 that comes out of the cash value. And by the way, the stock market was dropping from 2007 to 2009, and it was almost a 60% drop. Now, he was in the stock market. That's why it dropped so radically. And they could have changed it to safer vehicles, but this is a vehicle that's misunderstood. So if you're looking for some guarantees, income, as you mentioned to me, Alex, income that I can bank on, I can live on, this is why you go to someone who specializes on sound income strategies that could last the rest of your life. And knowing how to position people in those areas could be very important. By the way, there's other products out there that can get a guaranteed income for life, but this is one tool that's really, really misunderstood. I wanted to get that out there, Alex.
And it's a great example. And if you're out there and maybe you're a little overconfident about your plan, or maybe you're a little too trusting of your cousin who set you up, like
right.
George, you can call Scott and get more information. He can be reached at the studio, 609-488-4646. The number is 609-488-4646. And it's a great thing, Scott, that we're living longer, but this does create some specific challenges, and things are different than they were for previous generations. And what are some things we might need to plan for?
Longevity, as you well said. Are we running our money? Are we spending too much money? Again, from the beginning of this segment, this show, is again knowing our budget. Number two, how are we taking income? We spoke about. Are we taking it by way of income, by way of the I, or are we taking it by way of the G? Are we invested too risky? If the market has another 20% drop, or like it did in 2007 to 2009, a 60%, how will many people listening right now fare out? Have they shifted? Are they paying attention to what's happening right now? And maybe they should hang in there, don't worry. Well, that's good. Maybe for some money. For other money, maybe they need to pay attention how to make the money last longer. Pay attention to taxes. The power of deferred savings, compound interest, and reduction of taxes could help your money last a lot longer, because we are living a lot longer. So I guess in scenario of our health, some of us need to get off the couch and start running. So if you're on the couch, you might want to get that potato butt off that couch and maybe get your booty out in the sun and start running, or maybe run with an umbrella if it's raining, but get out of the house, or maybe start swimming, or pick up a sport or hobby, or just go for a nice walk by yourself, or with your lovely mate, or you with your dog, or just get out. But again, exercise is so important. Why do you think people in Florida are so excited all the time, half the time? They're outside enjoying the sun. They get that vitamin D in your system. You feel better. We're living a lot longer. The worst thing is living a lot longer and we're miserable. We're unhealthy. And by the way, I do have some health issues. And I have to work on those health issues. When I got rheumatoid arthritis, I got to fight it every day. But I'm not going to be that couch potato. I've got to keep in shape. And it's so easy to enjoy those 3 bowls of ice cream when you probably don't even need one. So again, watch how you eat.
That's
I'm not sure that helps anybody out there, but I can tell you, pay attention to those details, because we are living a lot longer, and hopefully those listening are being active. They're getting out there. They're meeting new people and stimulating your life with new people, vibrant, being excited and jacked up, and the person you want to be.
Yeah, you want to be able to enjoy that extra time if you're going to have it.
Yeah.
Well, if you have questions, Scott can be reached at 609-488-4646. And speaking of questions, coming up next, it is our mailbag segment. So you want to stay tuned. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
Scott McLean at McLean Advisory Group often talks about the difference between retirement savings and retirement income. It isn't necessarily how much money you have saved that's most important. It's having a steady stream of income in retirement, no matter how long you live. Scott has strategies that can help you create consistent monthly income for the rest of your life. He can help you make important decisions today so you can have the income you need in retirement. Having a big nest egg is great, but how will it provide you with the income you need for as long as you live? The number to get more information from Scott at McLean Advisory Group is 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. Turn your portfolio into a plan with help from Scott McLean. 609-488-4646. Investing involves risk. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services are offered through Bell Point Asset Management, LLC.
Financial wisdom grown locally here on the Jersey Shore.
You think I'm an idiot?
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, brought to you by McLean Advisory Group.
Scott gets questions each and every week about all things retirement. So now, here, Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity. We got the mailbag segment, and this is always a lot of fun and important, too, to answer the questions of some folks out there, some common retirement questions. And so we've narrowed down some good ones, Scott. Let's start off here, and this is a good one, I believe, because I don't think there's a whole lot of guidance out there in this regard. How much life insurance should I have? Life insurance. How much is enough?
That's a loaded question. You see, in the early years, you need a lot of life insurance, but the later years, you don't. Now, obviously, that's called the theory of decreasing responsibility, because in the early years, you don't have a lot of money. And so you're saving, you get young kids, you got high debt, you got a mortgage, you got a car loan. And so in those years, you probably need a lot of life insurance. But as you don't have a lot of life insurance, maybe you just save money. This is where the buy term and investment theory came many, many years ago from Art Williams. Brilliant thought, although there's a problem within that, but let me stay with me. But also in the early years, you don't have a lot of money, so you're saving. Now here you are, you're old, like we are, those listening right now. Maybe you got some young people too. I had a couple young callers come in and they and they said, Scott, I listen to your radio show. I said, you do? All right. Well, thank you. So your kids are grown. There's no more debt, or maybe you don't have your mortgages paid off. You don't have that much spending. You're not blowing and going as much as you were. And so life has changed. So the theory of decreasing responsibility. So I like to use a theory, and I've kept that with me, called the DIME, D-I-M-E. How much debt do you have? You have a total debt of, let's just say, $25,000 in debt. And then we have income, okay? So if I had income, D-I, if I needed to replace $25,000 of income, simply take $25,000 I need to replace and divide that by 0.04. Let's say at 4%. Well, $25,000 at 4%, you divide that number. That means I need a pot of at least $625,000 if I want to replace that income. So that's $25,000 there. And so we divide that by, again, 0.04, which is 6.5. Now we have M, mortgage. Do we want the mortgage paid off? Does my lovely spouse want to pay off? Let's say that my mortgage is $100,000, and that brings us to $750,000, and that's M. How much in mortgage? Now, if you have 2 or 3 mortgages, depends. The renters are paying it. Maybe you don't have renters and you're not paying it, but do you want to pay it off or not? E, for those people who are going to pay educational expenses. Maybe you're taking care of your grandkids. Something happened to your son or your daughter, and maybe you're taking care of the grandkids, but you want to make sure their education expenses are covered. D-I-M-E. And let's say I'd like to have an extra $50,000 just to get the kids through the first year or 2 year of school. Real simple. 25 plus 625 plus 100 plus 50. Really, really, really simple. And so when you think about it, how much life insurance? Now that we're older, maybe you don't need that much. This is where the mistake comes with pension planning. What do I mean by that? Imagine your pension, as this police officer was in today, and his income was $8,000 a month. And he said, well, you know what? I don't want to give my wife $6,500. I don't want to live on $6,500 because if I die, she gets $6,500. So I'll go ahead and buy a $600,000 life insurance. Pay attention. I see this mistake all the time. If you use my simple rule, take $8,000 a month and you multiply it by 12, and that's real simple to do. If you've got a calculator in your brain, that's $96,000 you have to replace. Well, you can do it one of two ways. Maybe you have 30 years left in your life. So at $96,000 times 30 years, you need $2.88 million. But what if you want to pass money on to the kids and you want to give your wife or your spouse? Well, the $96,000 divided by 0.04, you need $2.4 million in that pot. This is the amount of insurance that person should have purchased before they thought about taking the $6,500. And then if he dies, his wife or spouse gets $6,500. This is the rule of decreasing theory of responsibility. Well, now it's becoming the responsibility theory on how much life insurance I need. Now, I just threw a lot of numbers at you guys. So let me make it simple. Very simple. 609-488-4646. Please don't put this aside. You may not need any insurance. Some of you might be financially independent. You got plenty of cash. But what if you burn all the cash up because you're in the long-term care we spoke earlier about, and you used all that money? Could you leave anything to the kids? Number two, maybe, just maybe, you want the house paid off for your spouse just in case the lights go out and there's a terrible accident. Maybe you just want to pay the mortgage off. So there's other types of policies if you qualify. Now, Alex, I want to leave this to you people listening to me. Client came into me, several people, and I always ask lots of questions before they even think about being a client or before we even accept them as a client. We found out that he was disabled. Alex, his premium on his life insurance had he had $375,000. I'll never forget it. And I talked to him, and we started going through the fact finder, the will, power of attorney, living will. I looked at the tax returns. I saw the tax bracket. I saw the marginal tax bracket. I was showing how to reduce taxes. And then I also weaved into the area of looking at the will, power of attorney, living will, finding out, wow, who gets all the money? How is the beneficiary set up? Then I looked at the investments. When I got to the life insurance, after asking him how his health was, I found out he had a clause in his policy that would have paid the policy for over 20 years. It was actually 21.6 years. The premium on his policy wasn't much for some of you listening. It was just $2,500. When I looked at it, I'm like, wow. I said, you have this clause in the policy in the back of I read the back of the policy. That's where I went to first. And I found out that he had in there clause that would have paid the premium for his entire life. And I looked at it because he got disabled in a car accident. 5 months later, after telling him exactly what to do, exactly how to handle it, he comes in with this big bottle of Johnny Walker, the good stuff. At least that's what people tell me. It's the best, very expensive, I guess. He showed me a receipt for $53,750 he got back for premiums he paid in that he didn't have to pay in. Now, if you're listening out there and you have insurance, you might want to keep it. I don't know. Maybe you don't need insurance. But the biggest question you're asking, Alex, is the dime theory. Debt, income. Do you need to replace the income? Do you want to pay off the mortgage? And do we have any education expenses? Most of us pay the kids' college. Maybe we want to pay the college off. Maybe you have plenty of money, but maybe you want to have that and cover from tax-free money. Again, I just want to, I go into depth things. I get so excited. I've been in the business now going to my 41st year, and I love helping people and educating them on what to do. If you'd like that help, if you'd like to say, Scott, I want a guidance, I need help, I'd love to talk to you off the air. 609-488-4646. That's why people come in and visit with us. It's because we educate them, showing them smart, sound decisions to make their money work for them. 609-488-4646. Why do you think I called our show Financial Insanity? Out of the box thinking for your financial sanity. Thanks for joining us today. I hope this was helpful. Look forward to hearing from you guys. And stay tuned to our new workshops. Go to our website, 609-488-4646.com.
This presentation may contain information which has undergone regulatory or other significant change since its original recording.
The information on this program is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Discussions and answers to questions do not involve the rendering of personalized investment advice and is limited to the dissemination of general information and may not be suitable for members of the listening audience. Communications such as this are not impartial and are provided in connection with advertising and marketing for McLean Advisory Group. Prior to making any investment or financial decisions, an investor should always seek advice from a financial, insurance, legal, or tax professional. McLean Advisory Group and or Scott McLean offer investment advisory and financial planning services through Bell Point Asset Management, LLC.
This radio show is a paid placement.